May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, doing our best to preserve the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths cross his, and anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today we have a guest, one Neil Rubenking. Neil was, a student at the San Francisco Zen Center. He came in the 70s, and what it distinguishes Neil, among other things, was his being into computers before anybody else and helping Zen Center utilize the computer in various ways. And he had a little computer room downstairs. I probably mentioned this in the podcast. And he had his own circuit breaker with a warning on it: do not touch it, do not turn it off. And also, you'd see him with Rubik's Cube. Then you'd see him with 5 across Rubik's Cubes. And, he was sort of a brain. And he got into a very nice career very early on, which was writing for PC Magazine, and he's still doing that. I think he says he's been doing it for 37 years. He's a pretty senior person there. But anyway, we'll see what he has to say. But, hey, I want to say one thing. I sent him a Facebook message yesterday. I don't know if this is in the podcast. I didn't notice it scanning through it and scanning through the artificial intelligence transcript. But I remembered, Peter's father worked for the CIA, I think. I don't think I brought that up, or did I? I don't know. But anyway, regardless of if I did or didn't, here's what his answer was in the, here, I'm on Facebook. I got to be careful how I do this. Going to the top of his response. That was me. My dad worked in research, translating things like Russian tractor magazines. Hey, advances in tractors might lead to advances in tanks. I got a summer job there. Back when they thought Dad's security clearance would surely cover me, I worked in cable secretariat. International info would come by cable, marked for distribution to various internal acronyms. My team would collate copies, shove them into cylinders, and whoosh them off through pneumatic tubes. But it was weird. Only the boss was cleared to work the copier, so we had to line up. And only the boss could take out the trash, which went into the chute in the hall leading to the big incinerator. No huge secrets here, just early access. As I collated multi-page docs, I could read them in bits and pieces. I remember commenting that I knew who in Europe disliked Spyro Agnew before the Washington Post did. At my Page Street wedding, Peter Coyote was pouring champagne. I introduced my dad, mentioning his CIA career. Peter just said, "Oh, overt or covert?" This totally cracked Dad up. He'd repeat it for years. During one summer in Tassajara, Dana Dantine was also there. I had mentioned to Dad that I knew Helmut Dantine's son. Dad was a movie buff, and he was impressed. When they visited, he joked, "So when do we meet Helmut Dantine?" As it happened, he was visiting too, and they were seated together in the old dining room. too much information, but you set my mind going. Well, that's not too much, Neil. That's all cool. Hey, if you want to know more about Neil, just write PC Magazine Neil Rubenking, and you can read a nice brief bio by him and how he got involved with PC Magazine, which I think he says in the podcast. But he's called the senior security analyst or something like that. And that's what it really emphasizes. And he talks about his work in as being a security analyst for PC Magazine and writing articles on it and, how to protect oneself from ransomware and viruses and all that. And he's got some pretty impressive stuff to say about all that. And it'll tell you more. He had, for 20 years, he had, like Ask Neil, and people would write in and ask questions and stuff like that. So just write Neil Rubenking, PC Magazine, and you can read that. And about the security stuff he's done. And on Facebook, it says he's the chief analyst or something like that for Ziff Davis, which is a technology company. It doesn't say it was with PC Magazine, which is the main thing, it seems to me. So after the podcast, I asked him, I wrote him on Messenger. I said, oh, hey, I forgot to mention batch files. You were the batch file king. He wrote a giant book on batch files back when there was DOS before Windows. And, he said, yes, indeed he did. He said, here's what he wrote back. A lot of my batch file magic got nullified with the switch from actual DOS to Windows command prompt, but I still use batch files as needed, as well as really complex command lines using for, if, and so on. That's old DOS prompts. And I asked him, when you said the Zen Zone, oh, hey, another thing, I apologized to him for asking him for a copy of his batch file book. I said I hadn't written a book yet, and I didn't understand that you only get so many, and basically end up buying books and giving them to people who ask you for them because they think you have an endless number of free ones. And he mentioned the Zen Zone, and I asked him what that is, and he said, it's just a phrase I use sometimes for the Greater Zen Center, the city center, Green Gulch Farm, Tassajara, etc. And so then I asked him about, I said, didn't you have some program you made called Ask Sensei? So he wrote, in 1966, this guy Weizenbaum at MIT devised a very simple program to ask as a Rogerian therapist, always reflecting the client's statements back. I'm a loser. What makes you say you are a loser, etc. You can still talk to Eliza online here at cybertech.org/Eliza. And then he says, I wrote a program like Eliza, but able to accept user-defined responses. My ex-wife used it to create a program that would return only insults. I tried one that would give Zen-like responses. Other people have used the phrase ask sensei. I know, that's what I heard. I said, didn't you make a program back in the 80s called Ask Sensei that people were using? He says, I don't think I called it that. But anyway, that's what it was. And then he makes another interesting comment about Weizenbaum. He says, but Weizenbaum was freaked out about how people personalized Eliza, asking to talk to it privately, believing it was sentient. He said, what I had not realized is that extremely short exposure to a relatively simple computer program could induce powerful delusional thinking in quite normal people. All right. So I just wanted to add that. So here we go. All right. Well, look, that's enough of all that. So listen, when you hear the bell, if you're of such a mind, hit pause and meditate or whatever for as long as you want. And when you're ready to come back, hit unpause and we'll hit the bell to end the meditation or whatever and give Neil Rubenking a call.
Hello.
Hey, Neil, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
I wondered if we might get mixed up with time zones and days and things like that.
Well, actually, it's not quite like that. It's that I didn't check my calendar. And I just, I shouldn't do that. I get an idea in my head. Oh, it's how I got to call Neil. I should go check the calendar. No, that's tomorrow. I've got to call you. No, I'm very used to the difference in time zones. It's just, I'm careless. I make lots of mistakes like that all the time.
Oh, you should be like me. I never make any mistakes.
God,
Yeah, right.
I'm trying. I'm trying. So, hey, what are you up to?
Well, it's kind of funny, but I started with computers, at the Zen Zone, and that's what I've been doing ever since. So I am on my 37th year writing for PC Magazine.
Wow.
And I do that for my work and fun. And now that we live in Carson City, everything around us is fun too. So we're in good shape here.
That's great. I Google PC Magazine and then the subject, or PC Mag, and then what I want to see. Because, I trust PC Magazine. And every once in a while, I get something that you wrote. And I think, hey, I know that guy. That's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will ask you something, but I'll do that later.
Sure.
That I think will be fun to talk about. All right. So, hey, what else? What's it like?
Oh, what else? Huh?
What's it like there? Where are you? I mean, you got to describe it.
Oh, okay. We are in Carson City, Nevada.
Isn't that
Capital of
right?
Nevada,
That's right by the border with California, right?
Yes. Every now and then, Janet gets a feeling that she'd like to get a lottery ticket. Well, they don't sell those in Nevada. But we can be in California in like 15 miles, but maybe got to go 5 more until you get to like a place where there's some place that will sell you a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
We're very, very close. Or we can turn and go the other way and be at Lake Tahoe in about 20 minutes. It's a very nice place, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what do you think about buying lottery tickets as a statistician?
Personally,
Yeah.
which I'm not, by the way, but I think it's ridiculous. Here we are in a state where you can play a slot machine where, I don't know, maybe you have one chance in a million of winning, or you can play the lottery, which has one chance in 50 billion of, I'm not making up the numbers, but
Yeah.
we have all the more traditional gamblage available in the grocery, at the movie theater, in the I don't know if it's at the gas station. Anyway, but it's pretty much wherever you go, and the chances of winning are vastly better. But then I guess there's nothing that you win here that gets you $2 billion, like the whatever it was that was recently offering $2 billion.
Yeah, I know. That's really offensive. I don't think that should be allowed. I mean, that's horrible. Jesus. God.
It only exists because a lot of people are willing to gamble on it. And I want to say, probably the vast majority of the people that put some money into this hoping for a win can't really afford it. You know, we throw in $20 every now and then for fun. And, I agree. Maybe when I think about it, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Well, no, if it's fun, that's all right. You know, the way I look at it, your chances of winning are just the same if you don't buy the ticket, if you round off to the nearest watt. You know?
Oh my God. That's what I always say. It's not that different. You're right.
Yeah. Hey, incidentally, slots are considered sucker gambling, and there's much better odds in other games. You know, that's why they don't let people count cards, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, like in bridge, I don't know if they have bridge or do that bridge, but in bridge, in poker, and in gin rummy, the three, which are considered, as far as I know, the three skill games with cards, counting cards and knowing the odds is essential. The winners don't play hunches; they play odds, and they have good mathematical minds. They can keep a lot in mind. I used to play tournament bridge, and I didn't have that type of mind. I could only get so far.
Well, blackjack, isn't blackjack the big one where they get like shut down because they're counting cards?
Yeah, that's one of those games. Yeah, well, one thing they do is have an endless deck. That it can't. I don't see how they'd have to worry about counting cards if they had an endless deck.
I thought they just put like 10 decks in, which made it like beyond any human possibility of counting them all.
Right. Well, maybe that's what an endless deck is, you know.
Endless, 10, yeah.
That's one vice I not only never had, I never considered is gambling since particular experience I had as a teenager, which was miraculous. And I would go to Vegas and Reno. I liked doing it, to stay there and eat and see a show or something. And it's good for 2 days, 3 days. And I'd walk in. I can remember walking into a casino, handing the doorman $1, and I'm saying, all right, that's all you guys get from me.
Okay.
Well, that's, yeah. And they have legalized prostitution still, right?
You know they do. When we drive out from here to the east on Highway 50, we go past the Moonlight Bunny Ranch, which is, I guess, the big whatever in the Carson and maybe even the Reno area. I don't know anything about it except that it's a nice big sign on the freeway.
Yeah, I would never tempted. I would be horny and not be tempted for that. I mean, it's just, but well, it's more complicated than that. I don't think I'll go into that further.
Fair enough.
Well, anyway, that's neat. There's a lot of beautiful stuff around there. There's a hot springs near there, isn't there?
Carson has hot springs in town. We haven't gone to try it. And there's another one in the next town south called Genoa, another hot spring. In fact, this whole region has hot springs, and apparently there's a bunch of them that, as you go down toward Mammoth. Janet was looking at a list of them, and there are really quite a few. but nothing quite like Tassajara, except what do I know about Tassajara? These days, I don't think I'd recognize the first thing about it.
What I remember of a hot springs, maybe the one in Carson City, was run by the Park Service, and it had chlorine in it. So that was very disappointing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sounds like what I've heard of. It's near a little restaurant that we like. That is the only place I've ever seen to offer okonomiyaki on the menu. And yet I haven't gone to. This week I was thinking we got to go over to Sassafras because I'm going to have the okonomiyaki, but I haven't yet.
And it's not a Japanese restaurant?
Not in the least. It's the Sassafras Eclectic Food Joint.
Oh, boy, I'd try it. I'd try it.
Yeah. I mean, I made it out of the Tassajara cookbook. When my kids were younger, they were all into the anime and stuff. There was a show they watched where one of the main characters was the best cooker of okonomiyaki, and I'm like, oh, I can make that. And they're like, no way.
Huh.
So I did that out of the Tassajara book. So that was cool.
I forgot completely that was in the Tassajara cookbook. I never remember having that at Tassajara Zen Center. I mean, there was very, very little Japanese food, maybe some special thing, like if Mrs. Suzuki made something or whatever. That's funny. I didn't know that.
Well, I don't remember having it there either. It was in the book. But we did have hijiki and carrots, a whole lot.
We did. I like that. That's good. And
there was a fellow, Todd Sullivan, and he would always say, "Okay, conteras and carrots again," and everyone would be like, "I can't unsee that thought."
That's funny. Okonomiyaki is like a pancake or something but it's not sweet. Or I guess you can have sweet ones. But it's got things in it. It's got a lot of stuff in it. I think of it as people's food. It's the sort of thing you can get out of a stall at a festival. Yeah. So that's interesting. I'd definitely try it. And that sounds like an interesting restaurant too.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, the area we're in, we love the surroundings. We were a little bit put off by moving in December of the snowiest year in 30 years, but it's kind of pretty. And we're close to all with Topaz Lake and Lake Tahoe and Reno and Virginia City and Pyramid Lake, and we can go all these crazy places. But also, if we want to go out for lunch or something, there are interesting spots. So
yeah, that's neat.
And we're kind of old. We go out to lunch. That's like, oh, let's have some excitement. Let's go out to lunch.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, we do the same thing sometimes. We might do it today because we got to go to immigration. So we're getting a driver. Well, we got a driver. We'll be further away. Well, there are places we walk to around here.
Sure.
Let's see, is there a place we'd like to go? We might do that. Hey, all right. So you're still writing for PC Magazine. Now, in terms of your career, was it always with computers? You must have done something besides write for PC Magazine.
Well, here's the strange thing. Okay, my story. I tell people in the tech industry this, and they're like, "What?" But I'm at the Zen Center. Zen Center is a nonprofit. Nonprofits have donors. Donors are recorded in a database. And at some point, they just said, we're going to get that down from the mainframe or whatever onto one of them newfangled IBM PCs. And they did. They got all the donor information in in my mind, it's like a 2-foot stack of floppy disks.
Yeah.
But they hadn't thought past that. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
what's next? Neil can
Hey,
figure
give me a
this out.
year. Give me a year here.
Oh, 83 or 4.
Yeah, okay.
And I did figure it out. I got them. I actually went to places downtown and like looking at some weird AT&T computer thing, but I got them an IBM PC and a thing called a Bernoulli box that was for backup. Great big cartridges with a giant disk inside that would hold, I think, 5 kilobytes. I forget. Everything was so small back then. But I got them Word Perfect and RBase for the database, which later morphed into SQL, which everyone uses. So I kind of know SQL just because of all that, Select X from blah, where donor name, donor location is San Francisco. So I did a lot of that. I'd have the people in the front office at the Zen Center building saying, and they really, once they knew they could do this, they're like, can we write a letter to everybody who's given us more than $500 in the last 5 years, but not in the last 2 years, and they don't live in the Bay Area? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. So that's how I got into the computers. It was like the Zen Center as a nonprofit wanted to keep in touch with their peeps.
Mm.
And then I got one for myself somehow, and I learned to program, and I started on it was hard. Programming was hard because you had to buy these things that cost $500 for the compiler, and there was a new one called Turbo Pascal, which cost $50, which I could scrape up. And I got really good at that, and actually ended up writing books about about the programming as it evolved.
Yeah.
And some of that kind of in parallel with working with PC Magazine. So
Yeah.
I did get diverted. I got all hooked up in this, and it was around the same time as the big hoorah about Dick Baker and stooping Paul Hawkins' wife and things not being happy there. And I kind of had something else of interest. So it kind of helped me out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So then there was okay. I don't know if this is recorded anywhere, and I don't know what
do you
year
mean? It's recorded from the time you answered. So don't say anything you want. Don't say anything off the record.
Oh, no, I never meant to. I'm talking about, like, is it in the 10,000 year book at Tassajara?
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
Year that I was.
I didn't understand.
I don't know if it's. No, I'm sorry. I totally understand that you're, adding to the Cuke archives of infinity.
That's right. You got it. You got it. You have a good understanding.
Yeah. Yes. But no, there was a year, and I really could not tell you what year it was. But I was to be the Shuso at Tassajara.
Mm-hmm.
And it was during the same time when we're having the, wow, is Baker Roshi not that paragon that we thought, and blah, blah, blah.
That's 1983, probably. Right?
I think it's later.
He left in 83.
Well, I can tell you that if you know when Robert Lytle was Shuso, then you know when I wasn't, because I was down there, I was ready to roll, and it was time to start the whole thing, and I was like, crap, I cannot do this. This is not working. And I left and hitchhiked back to the city. And I know that Robert Lytle was impressed into service quickly as the Shuso for that practice period fall. Because the one they thought they were going to have, that was me, was not.
Oh, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Well, let me tell you something.
Tell me.
Let's see what year he was. All I have to do is, thanks to you, you made a text version of the 25-year book, which I appreciate it. And so I just write.
I think this may be after that. Yeah.
No.
I think this may be after.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
All I have to do is search for Lytle on the page.
True.
There I see him. Nearest student, kitchen, Doan's grounds, general labor. Shuso.
Oh, what year was that?
Yeah, I didn't look at the years of any of the others. Fall 1984.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So thank you for making that, because it's made our conversation more easier.
Well, and I was always like, well, I was there, but gosh, I don't know when. I did this, but I don't know when. So the fact that you put the thing, into digital form, I was very pleased to be able to.
Oh yeah, I was very pleased you did it. I hope. Let me see if I give you credit. I always try to give people credit, but that constantly forgetting things or noticing things. I'll go to a page. This happens every day, all day, every day. I'll go to a page and notice. I'll go, oh my God, there's not so and so there. I should do that. Come on, I want to. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's a note from you at the top.
Oh, good.
And incidentally, just for the listeners' pleasure, I want to say that the way I went to this book is because people said, well, how do I find it? All I did, and this is the way I work with my own website, I go online, it's always online, and I write in the site search box, 25-year. That's all I have to write. 25-year book, open right up to it.
Well, I have to say, you're saying you go to look for that on your own website.
Oh, yeah.
I have written like 5 million articles over the long years, and I don't remember what I've written, so I go to search for. I know I wrote something about this, and I go to find out what I said about it, so I can see if I was right and what I can quote. But I don't remember myself. I have to go look, and dang, it's nice that everything is on the internet that I can search.
Yeah. Well, you ought to collect it all and put it in one place.
I have.
Yeah.
It's the place. It's the internet.
Yeah. So you have, besides PC Magazine, that'll be somewhere else to make sure it's preserved. But I can get into that with you later. That's the second. But I want to go back. Look, let's go back and see how you ended up at Zen Center. What led you there? You can start with your birth. Where were you born?
Alexandria, Virginia.
Uh-huh.
Right outside D.C.
Ah.
My folks lived in Springfield, but mostly I grew up in Fairfax. Again, all around D.C.
You're talking about Fairfax where?
I
Fairfax where?
Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh, Fairfax City. I'm sorry.
Hey, Neil, I lost you. Wait.
Okay.
I lost you from Fairfax.
I'm here. Okay. Got me back?
Yeah. What'd you say then?
Fairfax city of, not the big Fairfax County. That was where I grew up, living in a development that was all named after Confederate events like Plantation Parkway, Mosby Woods, Cavalry Drive, Traveler Street. That was General Lee's horse. And they've recently renamed everything. So even the horse, he's no longer memorialized.
I don't know what I think about that.
I don't really either.
Yeah.
I know that it's weird that there was an intersection of Tecumseh and Sherman, given that those are two names of the same guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, grew up in Fairfax, went to UVA, University of Virginia. I had a scholarship there. There was no money. It was just, you can take any course you want if you can convince the professor to let you. So it was like a scholastic merit scholarship.
Yeah.
And so and I took all kinds of things. I took senior physics. I took crazy stuff. But my advisor said, you should take this comparative religion class. That'll be different from all that science and math stuff.
Yeah.
I should mention, the advisor was Charles Whitebread. If you Google Charles Whitebread, University of Virginia, he went on to be like this amazing fellow. Big on, and this is back in the 70s, laws about marijuana and stuff. He claimed to have written a book called The Real Dope About the Real Dope by a Real Dope. The book itself was not, anyway, he was a good advisor. And
yeah.
I took the course, and I did poorly in the final exam because we did a whole survey of comparative religion, and I basically, in the final, dismissed them all except maybe Zen Buddhism. Maybe. And then I was also getting into the available drugs in school, which were plentiful in the 70s. And I ran across the Tassajara bread book in the local, I don't know what, it was called John and Apple's Carrot Cafe. The local organic food, hippy dippy schlippy place. And I was like, oh, this is just like what I read about. Look, there's a monastery. I'll go there and sit outside the gate until they let me in. I confess, I was young. But I did. I took what money I had. I hocked my saxophone and took what money I had and went flew to Monterey and hitchhiked to Tassajara. And instead of being like in the book, where they're like, you cannot come in, they're like, oh, hi, come in, you can stay for 3 days. So, that's different. And it was exactly at the time of Suzuki Roshi's funeral. So I totally missed Suzuki Roshi, except for his funeral.
The funeral wasn't it in December of 71?
That doesn't sound right. It sounds too early to me.
Then it was something else.
It was the dedication of the little spot up on that. You'd walk out past the flats and you go up the hill to that little spot. That's
the ashes ceremony, which was something like April of 72 or something.
That sounds more like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, and they were like, yeah, okay, well, you want to go to the Zen Center in the city? We'll give you a ride. Sure, okay. So, and I just kind of settled in there. I got a bunch of other new kids. Oh, gosh, let's see. Bob Anderson, Carol Atherton, Charlie Masumian, maybe Ann Overton, and myself. We all had a flat down Laguna, block and a half from the Zen Center. And I'm like, I hear about folks talking about rents in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Our rent was $250 divided between 5 of us.
I think you're talking about, what is it, 181 Haight?
No. That's where it's like Tom Kabarga and Teresa Selzer and Ned from North Carolina.
Yeah.
181 Haight. That was like half a block up. We were down Laguna. Something. Anyway, I remember the landlord's name because it was unusual. He was Nivoy Gerbracht.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah, you can't forget a name like that. Anyway, so yeah, I kind of made my way in through a strange way and wound up at the city center, and what did I get? I got a job. I got a job delivering the San Francisco Advertiser on the routes where the junior high kids that were supposed to deliver it didn't.
Yeah.
Kind of a lame job, but and then I got a job with the Social Security filing folders. I would walk from the Zen Center down to like Front Street to my job, and
that's a long way.
It is, and the fellows there kept calling me, "Hey, Kane, snatch the pebble from my hand." It was an odd thing. It was an odd occurrence, but it was kind of a wonderful time.
Yeah. Yeah, it had to be April when you were at Tassara because the practice period would have been over, like mid-April, and you wouldn't have been able to be there until after
they would have said,
so
get out of here.
Yeah, so they waited to have the memorial service. I was there. I was at it, of course, until after the practice period, and it was, probably took several days to prepare it and everything. Yeah, neat. So there you are, working for Social Security down on Front Street. That's cool.
Yeah. After a while, I'm trying to think. I mean, I did that for a while. I went to Tassara for like 3-ish years, 2 different times. And there was a point where I was Eno down there. I was treasurer down there. The second time. First time, I was like, I don't know. I was a baker. Yay.
Yeah.
I made those gosh darn fruitcakes, which were amazing. And I was the bath attendant, and and I worked on the rock wall with Dan Gorley and I think Bruce Halverson and Brian Lefebvre. That wall across from the kitchen that was not finished at that time. That was great. Somebody posted a picture just this last few days, and it wasn't even like, it was just like a picture to illustrate some quote from Suzuki Roshi, but I'm like, wait a minute, there's Bill Lane, and there's Roshi, and there's Reb, and there's me, and there's David, and it was a picture from Bill Lane's Suso ceremony, I think.
Right. It's just, yeah. It was a guy named Peter Ford, who actually does more for Cuke.com than I do. I'm practically like his advisor now. No, I mean, we're both working on it all the time, but he's been with me for years. He does the Instagram. And
got it.
I was doing daily lecture excerpts on what's new. And then he made them automatically go to Facebook, Cuke Archives. He created that. He's a lot better at tech stuff than I am. And then Katrinka, my beloved wife, kept saying, you ought to do Instagram, because she was into Instagram and I wasn't. I don't do stuff. I don't do anything I don't have to on my iPhone because I'm on the computer so much. But she kept saying it. And so Peter and I were both sort of, finally he did it. And then he did it. Now it goes to It goes to Instagram first, and then to What's New, and then to Cuke Archives Facebook. So it goes on all three places. For a while, we were doing different ones. He was doing Instagram, and I was doing, but we consolidated. Well, we thought one a day is enough. We're already, But anyway,
yep.
I don't know why I got into that. Please continue.
Oh, whatever. Continue. What was I saying?
Oh, hey, I can tell. Let me tell you something here. I'm back at the. Thanks to your diligent work, I'm back at the 25-year book. In 1974, when I was Shuso, you were the kitchen cleaner.
Yes,
and then here you are. Yeah. All right. Wait a minute. Let me see. In the spring of 1974, I was the director, and you were on the Stone Crew with Peter Vandersteer, Dan Gourley, and Bob McKenzie. Now, that doesn't mean it's a complete list or it's all right. It means that's the information we had.
Well, it's definitely Peter Vandersteer and Dan Gourley. I threw in a few other people, but I'm not sure. I mean, I totally remember those two. We would go out to the flats with that Dodge Power Wagon, that 52 Dodge Power Wagon, and like a 2x12 or a 4x, a giant plank, and roll rocks up into the back of it to weight down the back, and then we get the winch off the front and find a really big rock that we could like wrap the winch cable around and bring that back, because we couldn't get the big rock first. Otherwise, we'd try to lift it, the back of the truck would just go up in the air. So I'm pretty sure that's how the giant white rock right at the corner of that, the wall across from the kitchen, I'm pretty sure that's how that one got there. Mm-hmm. I think that happened before me, but I was involved in getting other really big rocks.
Oh, yeah. So, would you say that again about the big rock?
Okay. Well, two things. One is there's a giant rock in the rock wall across from the kitchen, right where the wall makes a turn, like a big white rock. I think people called it a heart rock.
Yeah.
I think this rock is not one that I was involved in, but for other really big rocks, we'd take the Power Wagon and drive out to the flat.
Yeah.
And we'd start by loading up the back with the rocks we could roll up this plank. And then we would use the winch on the front to get a big rock, too big for us to move, because we'd have to get that one after filling up the back, because otherwise, instead of picking up the big rock in the front, the back would just go up in the air.
Yeah.
And then we trundle on back like the truck and the other big rock.
That's amazing. Oh, hey, I want to make a correction. In 1974, in the spring, in the fall of 74, I mean, I was not Shuso. I was Shuso in the spring. But the first I see you here is when I was director in the fall of 74. So anyway, making it correct.
Okay, yeah, well, you swapped those? I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, the stonework that went on, I always avoided that, and I admired all the people who did it. Richard Baker tried to get me when I was Shuso to do stonework on the wall when I was director. I just wouldn't do it. I'd sort of try, but I don't know. It would never mind trying. With Suzuki. Suzuki knew not to ask me. He had me bring him dirt. I like doing that.
We needed dirt too.
Yeah.
We had to fit the rocks in, and, fit stuff in behind them. And there had to be dirt behind those rocks or they would have just been wobbly.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many people that were good at stonework, and liked it. I thought, well, I didn't believe in assigning people to things they weren't right for and didn't want, which there was a sort of idea there that everybody should do everything, rotate the jobs and, you know what I mean?
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I'm totally against that. And they wanted all new students to sweep and do practice things. And you get somebody like when David Schneider came as a guest student, he was an incredible organizer. I immediately put him on. I mean, I didn't, but he started doing it, and I said, go for it. He organized every closet, every place. He put labels on everything. And they were saying, hey, this is bad for his practice. He should be, sweeping outside. But I was work leader, so they couldn't stop me. Or they could have, but they didn't.
I was work leader a time or two.
Yeah.
Was I work leader at Sasahara? I was work leader at the city center for sure, but that was more like being a building super. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. But you'd have a lot of responsibility. Well, see, we still had work period during sessions when I was there. That stopped eventually.
At the city center?
Yeah. When I was work leader at the city center in 1972, we'd have a session, and there'd be 60 people to assign work for an hour work period or an hour and a half, after lunch.
I think I did that.
Yeah.
Once. I think it didn't last long.
Yeah. What I did was, what I had been taught to do was, I got a lot of painting done, was to get everybody to clean their brush and clean everything afterwards, because that's good practice. I told them, you paint right up to the bell, put your brush, down or whatever in the thinner and I cleaned them all because we got 10 times more painting done that way. Otherwise, you'd have to quit halfway through for people to clean up.
Oh, well, I know. I had an amazing crew of trimming that huge wisteria in the opening of the city center. There was one time when somehow I managed to make the work period, where did we get the ladders? I don't know, but made them go up and wildly trim the wisteria, and it was great.
Yeah, we had ladders. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's neat. So, Zen-wise, what was your experience there?
No, it's a good question. I did the practice. I did. If there was ever anything unusual to be done, and they're like, "Who will do this?" I was like, "I'll do it." So when we had to we did a new thing where we marched around the Zendo, chanting the Heart Sutra, and there was a rhythm bum 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 bum. So I learned that, and I would do the drum for the lecture. There was rattling on the bolts and things. I would always do anything that were who wants to do this new thing? So I learned a lot of crazy stuff. And and I was pretty sure I think it was Eno at Sasahara at a point, because I remember teaching people and telling them to go out to the flats and do the hollering till it came back from the mountain at you.
Oh yeah, right, right.
with the diaphragm. I got distracted. What was I talking about?
You're talking about Zen.
Zen, doing things, in other words. So I was, I did all the things. I did the sessions. I did the zazen. I did things.
How did you find that? All right, session.
Yeah.
How did you find that?
Pretty tedious.
Mm-hmm.
I confess there were times when I was like, let's see now. If I calculate in my mind the first day of the session and the time of day it was, have we reached the halfway point yet?
Yeah.
And of course, then letting that go too. But there were times when it was inspiring.
Yeah.
But the scenes and stuff, I was like, I'm doing this. I know it's good. It's supposed to be good. Never had any like super deep apostolic succession moments with the Zen master.
Now, what Zen master are you talking about?
Dick Baker. That's all I ever knew.
Uh-huh.
And I've always been a little weirded out about the what is it, the Dharma success, Dharma transmission.
Yeah.
Which I just now referred to as apostolic succession, which is something
That's absolutely
think
right.
of sometimes.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So sometimes, by the way, I tell an abbreviated version of the story to people who are like, how did you get into computers? I'm like, oh, do you really want to know? And I do tell them. Oh, I'm still totally into it. The thing is, there's no difference from if I wasn't totally into it. If there's a difference, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Some folks get it. Some are like, "What? You crazy? Let's talk about my product that does I don't know, password protection or something." But others are like, "Oh, that's interesting, I think."
Yeah,
anyway.
Suzuki Roshi said that monks that go to the monastery because they have to tend to do better than the ones that go there because they're true believers or they're enthusiastic about it.
Yes.
I noticed that at Zen Center too. Sometimes,
yeah.
It could be either way. It's great. One thing I remember about your computer thing is you had a room in the basement right near where I'd clean the brushes. And you had a circuit breaker with a sign on it, "Do not turn this off," right? And if somebody turned it off, working on electric, I don't know, basically you go strangle them.
I don't remember that. I do totally remember the weird little room down in the basement there. And I also remember, at City Center, there was that whole little board of buttons where if someone came up and, I want to talk to David, he's in room 12B, and they could press the button and ring a bell in your room. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. I forgot about it.
I added, because later that room that I was using was made, God forbid, to be a room for someone to sleep in. I mean, it was just like big enough for like a sleeping bag. Anyway,
right,
three rooms,
very small.
I ran new wires down there, so they would have little bells too.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Strange.
Yeah.
No, when I was work leader, I actually had a lot of. I learned to be I bought a key making thing from a hardware store that went defunct on Divisadero, so that if we had to change the keys, we didn't have to pay like $1 million to make. Who knows how many keys there were?
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
I guess I was gone. I mean, I wasn't involved with the city center anymore, or where I was Probably, yeah. I was living in Bolinas
Well, also,
or something.
you might not have gone, okay, this was in the boiler room.
Oh, I do remember that. You're right. Over there in the left, the far left corner.
Right, and then down there, I put up this key making thing, and it really was a couple times. Like, if somebody was mugged, which happened often enough, and their key was taken, it was like, okay, we better rekey the building. And I could do that. I could actually, there was a locksmith down on Haight, where I could buy certain things. Not being a registered locksmith, I couldn't buy a lot of things, but I could buy lock cylinders and little pins, and it was up to me to know what to do with them.
Yeah.
So I was able to rekey the locks and print new keys. Something. Oh, I know. Odd story. So Chuck King was a Zen Center guy, big guy. Not, he would come to Zazen, and you wouldn't hear much else from him, but he maintained the boiler for the Zen Center.
Very important.
Very. Okay, and then separately, because I didn't know her at the time, my wife Janet, living in Santa Cruz, buying books for the Santa Cruz bookstore, the one that was pretty much done in by the earthquake, she worked with Jane King. Jane King is Chuck King's wife.
Ah.
Later we connected on our daughter, my stepdaughter, with Catherine, would hang out with their son, Joseph, for a while. It was a really weird connection because, you know her completely differently. I know him, but they're married. Okay. Anyway, that was a digression, but it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amusing at the time.
Pardon me, what did you say then?
Before I said it was a digression?
Yeah. Well, just keep going.
Oh. Pardon?
I just said keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, I was kind of done with that little story where I knew Chuck King at Zen Center, and before I knew her, Janet knew his wife Jane King at the bookshop Santa Cruz, where she was the book buyer. And then later we found out, we all know each other.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat.
It is.
Yeah.
And then there was a point. Yes.
Go on.
There was a point where I was into the computers enough that I became the president of the San Francisco PC users group, which would meet down in Fort Mason. And Janet was the newsletter editor of the same organization. That's how we met. So we met geeky. And we got married quite some time ago, 1988.
Well, let's see, 88. That's 2245. This is your 45th year.
No, I think it's 35th. Let me work that again.
Oh, no, I added a decade. This is your 35th year.
We would be happy if it was 45th.
Yeah.
But it's 35th, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, my bad. So, all right,
No.
Well, so where'd you go from there? How did things progress?
Oh, well, I as I mentioned, I had withdrawn from being Chusseau and began to withdraw from the Zen Center and started to, move out, move elsewhere. Janet and I moved up to Twin Peaks.
Yeah, all right, but wait a minute. Where you were talking was back in the 70s. When I was Tenso, I came back for 1 year to be Tenso. I'd been at Green Gulch 2 years. And after living in Bolinas for 9 years and being half-time at Zen Center, doing stuff with Zen Center, but I actually moved into Green Gulch. Then I was Tenso for 1987, and you were there. You were living in the building.
I was.
Yeah. Well, So a lot of times passed there, and you had your computer thing going downstairs. That's when I remember it. So that's about the time, like after that, not long after that or something, you thought what?
I thought, okay, this is actually pretty simple. When I first showed up, I met a lot of people there that were really interesting, and they were like, wow, these people, I like these people. I like, they seem admirable. Huh, they're doing something. I'll do what they do.
Yeah.
And see how it goes.
Yeah.
And right about the time I was leaving, I was like, you know what? I'm not sure I want to do what these people do anymore. So that was the beginning and the end.
All right. Now let me ask you something. Had the sort of culture, the social milieu of the people changed in those two times? Or, of course, you had changed. Or was it pretty much the same and you were, but you wanted to move on?
Well, the big thing that changed was the big hoorah over Baker Roshi.
Yeah.
And like, wait, you mean he's not that great person? You mean, well, maybe he is, but he did these things, and that was the proximate cause. That's what was like. Wait a minute.
Got you. Yeah. So, but that was 83, and there I was at 87, and you were still there.
Yeah, I guess I distracted myself for a while, but when it came to really committing to it, there was something, missing there, so I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. I knew Dick pretty well. And, I remember Liz telling me, I woke up in Bolinas with her telling me the new gossip about him. And it didn't change the way I saw him. I went, oh, yeah. I knew women he'd been with. And I think so did. He and Jenny had a good relationship, but those things happen. But they were outside of Zen Center. It was almost always outside of Zen Center. So that was, of course, a really foolish thing. And, the way something he said about it to me, actually, he said it to me in 86 or something when I was telling him how insanely in love and emotional and everything I'd been because of being with Elin Schweikart. And then we eventually got married, but it was very emotional for a while. And he calmed down then. But the first 5 months it was very emotional. He said, oh, yeah, we'll destroy ourselves over women. I
guess he was right.
Yeah, see, that's a very honest, non-defensive thing for him to say. I find people who get, attacked for certain things. A lot of, some of them are smart and say, like Reb was asked, why did he do so and so? He said greed, hate, and delusion. Boy, took care of it in a second.
Thing in the park, you mean?
Yeah, the whole thing, everything, it took care of it in a second. But that way, didn't make excuses. But I also find with the people who fall back on excuses and can't quite admit it, if you don't attack them, they'll tell you the truth in time. Yeah. I worked with an Army colonel. I worked with
ask for the truth.
Go on. What?
I never felt I was in a position to ask for more. I was like,
yeah. You see, the thing,
level.
I went back further with him, so it was easier for me. And also, I never was a starry-eyed Zen student. But I don't think you were either. You were a very down-to-earth person.
I have to say something funny.
Yeah.
That's something funny. So I'm in touch with Peter Coyote from time to time.
Yeah.
You remember him?
Yeah.
And there was we were talking about something. He said, "Oh, I always thought you were one of those guys who knew what was going on here." I was like,
"Yeah,
we were both equally new. I was just, I don't know." I thought it was hilarious myself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would notice
idea.
that. I would see, you got to see how much people get into groupthink. You got to get into it some way. You can't talk, if everybody's talking for you. But then there was a higher level groupthink, like the cognoscenti had, where they talk, softer, very careful, using special words. I didn't go there. But I would see it, and I would see people who wouldn't, and then you could see the level of true believing. You could see the level of giving up responsibility for yourself to others, and just, this whole thing about just doing what the guru says. Boy, how to understand that is really important, Anyway, you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. All right. So at some point, you took your time. I mean, you had a nice thing going. You had friends. You had a community. And, one thing I see from talking to you is the Sangha was your teacher. As much as anything, right? Because you haven't mentioned particular people inspiring you as your teacher. So, and there are people, I think I like that. Actually, that's the way I feel now. But go on. So at some point, you made some move. Let's get to that.
Well, at some point, I just moved away from it all. Started a new life. Started a family. Started being. It's weird now. Okay, I am hyper respected in my field in computer security. I go to conferences and. It's not literally like people say, "Look, there's Neil Rubenking." Okay, Janet and I went to a weird situation. I was supposed to go to a conference, a hacking conference, and the magazine was like, "Oops, we didn't do our travel budget." And I'm like, "I don't care. It's been 3 years from the pandemic. I'm just going to make it during my vacation and see my people." So we wound up having dinner with people from a Romanian software company, big company, and they were just raving to Janet about how your husband is so amazing. Whenever he's looking at our product, we just hope for the best. And anyway, it is it's very odd. I go to meetings sometimes, and like I say, well, I would do this sure, you can do that. You're Neil Rubenking, but I can't do that. I'm sorry. It kind of cracks me up. But that's my current situation. Maybe I'm the guru or something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but then you're married. That's very important.
Yeah.
And one of the functions of marriage is to not let you get too carried away with yourself. Right? It's like having somebody with you just pushing you, come back down to earth.
Yes.
And I find it very important. I mean, actually, I like it to relate. As when I look to just living in Zen Center and being in Zen Center, and and then I get more and more seniority, and I've got robes and these positions, and so there's this. I don't know. There's people assumptions. There's really undeserved respect and stuff. And then I find being outside with people who don't know about that, that brings me back down to earth. Anyway, you know what I mean.
I totally get the. Is it deserved respect? Is it? Oh, I have a better robe. Thank you.
Oh no, yours is deserved. Yours is deserved. Mine was imaginary.
So mine back at the Zen Center. With my shaved head and my fancy robe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a little off to me. It took me a long time to realize it was a little off.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I want to bring something up just real quick here because the way you said that. I've talked to some people. I've done a lot of podcasts with people, and especially people who weren't, ordained priests and this and that, who were at Zen Center, who say, at Zen Center it was like, if you really want to do it, you have to become a priest. And I said, well, that's not really true. And they said, no, but that's what I believed, and that's what I was being told. In essence, everything aimed toward that.
That was the impression I had, and so I did it.
Yeah. I was sort of, I don't know if I was a little before that, but
you were.
I did it because it was something to do with Suzuki Roshi. I had no idea I had absolutely no priestly goals or anything. And at some point I realized, this is not my calling. And also I don't want people to project and expect things of me and expect certain types of behavior, but I did enjoy it. It was very good for me. It was very good. The whole thing was very good. And my relationship with Richard Baker was very, very helpful. We'd still relate. Different. And I don't regret any of it, But anyway, I just wanted to say that. Yeah. So that, Suzuki liked the tradition of lay people practicing, but it was also from the tradition of getting ordained. But he talked about we're neither priests nor lay. And there has been a lot of lay emphasis come out of his lineage, but maybe the San Francisco Zen Center specifically has more emphasis on becoming a priest. I don't really know for sure, because people become priests in lots and lots of the other offshoots of Suzuki's lineage. I don't know to what extent that's true. A lot of lay ordination, and there's also like lay entrustment or whatever in different levels and different understandings of how you can become a teacher. There's all that.
I actually don't.
Yeah, well,
I don't know what you mean by lay entrustment or ways to become a teacher. Because wait a minute, why would you become a teacher? Because the other person already knows. So what are you going to do? Yeah,
well, people will get lay entrustment, and then they might have and there are probably other names for it. They're still a lay person, but maybe they have an okesa, which was okay. Okay, traditionally, lay people can have okeses, the full rope,
Oh, sure.
And, we never did it. I've never seen that done in America until more recently. but then maybe they have a group. And a lot of them are very humble and just providing a place where people can sit together and not lording over everybody. A lot of different things. I think I find it very interesting. But I must admit, I don't really understand it overall. I just talk to individuals and get what they have to say. So, so what did you do? All right, you're sort of moved on. Where'd you go? What did you do?
Oh well, really, I got away from the Zen Center, but not far. Just moved in with Janet up on Twin Peaks. We got married there.
By whom? By whom?
By the Swedenborgian minister.
Wow, Swedenborgian. You know, Johnny Appleseed was a Swedenborgianist.
And William Blake was a supporter. The Swedenborgians in San Francisco are big on doing weddings. And
really?
They will happily come to you. Yes. They'll happily come to your random small weddings. So we had like me and Janet and her brother and his wife and a couple of friends. Oh, and little Catherine. Janet had a daughter before I knew her, but I mean, I've known Catherine since she was 3 and now she's 40. So I consider her a daughter.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was
of course.
Very small. And we had a couple more kids, and then we moved to Rockaway, Brendan, kind of near Tower Market. But after a while, it was like, we cannot really support a family of 3 kids in San Francisco. We moved to Davis, lived there for 25 years.
Huh. And what did you do?
All the same thing. I worked in New York, where I wasn't.
And what sort of work did you do for whom?
PC Mag.
All right.
I was working. Okay. I missed a step. In 85 or 6, I was the president of the PC Users Group, and the editors of PC Magazine, they had a tradition or whatever. They would visit a city for some like event, and they would find the user group officers and take them out to dinner. This was before the tech crash in 2000. They had money out their ears. So we went to Il Fornaio, I think, and they were like, "Oh, hey, you're the president of the group. Oh, you know this thing? You know this new thing that we don't have? You know this thing we don't have in our magazine, and you can write about it? Would you like to write for us?" So I started writing for PC Mag, and quickly had an every other issue column, and then an every issue column, and then I was writing reviews of products and explaining things to people, and that was it. That was my new career.
All right. Great. Very good. So Davis, there you were in Davis, and then did you go from Davis to Nevada?
It was a little weird. In 2020, we were looking and saying, wow, our house, in theory, has $500,000 in equity, and it's imaginary until we sell it.
Right.
And maybe we should sell it and move. We've always thought about Oregon. It would be nice there. It won't be hot like Davis. It won't be wildfires. It will be beautiful and green. And we actually up and moved to Salem, Oregon.
Oh.
And claimed the California real estate lottery, right? But it did not suit us. We didn't feel comfortable. Or Janet in particular, I swear she may have had seasonal affective disorder. It was moist. It was gray, and we didn't get what we were promised because we thought we'd be where it's cooler, right? So the year we moved there, they broke all temperature records and got to 117. like the record was 111, and they jumped 6 degrees. And then we were concerned about wildfires. Well, they had wildfires so bad nearby and in the wind path that we learned that the AQI scale goes above 500. We're like, literally don't go out of the house. So all the things we thought we were getting, we didn't. We thought we'd enjoy being near Portland, but it was the pandemic and nothing was really happening. And when we did go to Portland, we actually, it was in a time of riots and homelessness, and Portland was very unattractive. And we eventually were like, okay, this was a mistake. It's been 3 years. We can afford to move again and not have the, there's a, what do you call it even? Capital gains? Yeah. We can move again without capital gains. And all the time we were in Davis, if we just had a weekend where they don't know what to do, we would go to Reno, not to gamble because we liked the area, the mountains and the lakes and things.
Right.
Well, we'll look at Reno and Sparks and Carson City, and that was the thing. We had a weird pandemic detour into Oregon, and then wound up here.
Yeah. Well, that's neat. I have a couple of things I put off till now.
Okay.
One thing is, I don't know, half a year ago, I got this thing. I have a PC and a Mac. I tend to use the PC more, which I think you'll appreciate.
I use both. I have to.
Yeah. Well, I'm just more used to it, but Mac's good. It's good for it's very good. And, it's much newer and yeah. But about half a year ago, I read about Mac Whisper, and that's an AI transcribing thing. And I got it. It was cheap, I don't know, $15 or something. It was incredible. It transcribed a podcast. What I'm used to with voice recognition is it's got to learn your voice and you got to keep teaching it. And it's good for if you want to get somebody else in there, it doesn't know their voice. Oh, there's nothing. No problem at all. And I've transcribed many of them now where people talk all sorts of different ways. And, so far, it has its limits, but so far it's very, very good for me because it still leaves a lot of work in terms of getting it ready to post. So, I'm actually waiting for future or maybe present that I don't know about capability to, because it doesn't take long to transcribe it, retranscribe it, so it separates host and guest. And Mac Whisper so far doesn't do it, and I've written the guy who created it a couple of times about that, and, he's hoping to get it in there. But I've seen other AI programs do that. But anyway, it's very good to go over a podcast. And I got a lot of other things to do. I spend as little time as I can on this, I scan the transcription, and I don't need to be told who's host and who's guest. And I can see maybe a place where it should be cut or, a place where, whatever. Or a place where I need to make a note about something and mention it in the intro. So it's very, very useful. But, and my understanding of AI, I've read a little about it, transcription is, actually there's much better AI available. It's just too expensive to, to make public. In fact, there's AI that's too expensive. I've been reading for Google and Microsoft, it's just the enormous amount of energy. It's amazing how accurate it is. But I want it to be I want AI that can learn, like when it comes across Ta-Sahara, it's learned to spell it correctly. I have a lot of technical terms, a lot of special places. I want it to be able to separate hosts and guests. Now, that would be simple compared to voice recognition, right? I mean, that's obvious. I can't. The one I use so far, it doesn't work to put in a stereo file. There's two different. I could do them separately, and then match them. But I'm waiting for something that does it better. I've seen one that says it will do that, and I'm just right now lazy to look at it. But what do you know about that? You see what I do and where I'd like to move. I'd like to get them good enough to where it would be much less work to make it postable.
I know that PCMag has a roundup of transcription programs. I have, we don't have copy editors anymore. We edit each other's pieces. So I've gone through some of the reviews. I know that some of them are expensive, some of them are inexpensive, some of them are free, but I wouldn't know more unless I went back and read the article.
Yeah,
but we do have a roundup of transcription services, and it might be worth looking through just to see.
Yeah.
What might be available.
Yeah, no, I should do that. Let me tell you, I don't mind paying. That's one time. Yeah. That's one time. If it saves me time, that's money,
Well, it's not necessarily one time. Some of the transcription services are per minute. Or
No. I don't want that. The one I have was a one-time purchase with free updates. Something that's per minute or per hour or per item. No, I wouldn't even think of that.
Right, got it. And that is not all of them. Not all of them. Some of them are free. Some of them are one-offs. Some of them are like, oh, no problem. If you don't want to pay, that's fine, but we'll give it to you tomorrow. So there's a time factor instead of a pay factor.
Well, yeah.
Anyway,
but like I said, I'm happy to pay.
Gotcha.
We are not rolling in money. We just barely get by on donations and a little other stuff that comes in. But that's one of the things that I will spend money on. We save a lot of money in a way from living here.
Yes, I imagine.
But then we live at a much higher level. We make up for a lot of it that way. You couldn't live the way we live. I just don't know how much it would cost in America. It's and buy a beach that you can go to and swim every day, all year.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to get into that. But I'm happy to pay, and I'll look at PC Mag, see what they say, and that's pretty recent, probably, huh?
All these roundups, we try to keep up to date. I mean, the worst it might be is like not quite a year, because if it comes a year old, it's like, oh, we got to update that.
Yeah. All right. The next thing is preservation. I don't think anything's going to last. I think the idea that getting things digitized is going to keep them forever is, it'll keep them longer. We know that. Well, for one thing, with climate change, I don't believe in forever anymore.
There's that. Yeah.
But to me, archiving is making things available a little longer, you know. And I actually just like the process. To me, the process is more important than the product. I enjoy it. But all right, hard disks, solid state hard disks, they deteriorate. There's all these electrons or something that go into them. You can keep transferring and stuff. So I use hard disks. I have a bunch of hard disks. But, there's the cloud. There's I use Dropbox, OneDrive. I have a little iCloud. I use our Sonic.net. Has something like that. So we've got and try to keep up with it and I try to get things on multiple clouds. There's also archive.com, which is great because they keep archiving my stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
Long as they last.
Well, so what do you think about that whole thing about preservation and
I went to a talk about this very subject. Maybe it was a Zoom talk, because I think it was last year. About how do you really make sure you keep your digital, data and all. And I think what I want to do is say, I'm going to find that talk and forward it to you, because I remember they ended up saying you really want a physical backup, and I think it was called an M disk. It's a kind of like Blu-ray that's guaranteed for 1,000 years. I mean, I'm not sure that's accurate, but it was something like that.
Yeah, I've read stuff like that. I've read, you can't trust DVDs or CDs necessarily. You get something wrong with them, you can lose the whole thing. However, I think it's still it's good to have everything on physical, whatever's best. The one thing is, with archiving, you got to archive the machines. Because if you got a physical object that's out there, you got to have a machine that'll read it.
Absolutely.
And that's very interesting. Yeah. One thing I do is I periodically put a post on that says download Cuke.com and ShinyuSuzuki.com. Help us preserve it. Help us keep it there. Now, there's another site. We have all of Suzuki Roshi's lectures, right? Audio, everything extant, not just lectures. Anything he said or wrote that we know about, it's all there. And all the audio and everything, right? And it's all downloadable. There's another site that is doing a very good job, but they make their Suzuki lecture audio not downloadable. And
only listenable?
Only listenable. And I did know how to, before, they thought it was not downloadable beforehand, but figured out a way to get it. Now, can't figure out a way, but then all you have to do is play it, and you can record that,
Yes.
And there's only one lecture like that. It's unlikely anything else is going to be found. But it could be. Actually, they found a whole bunch of new tapes,
cool.
30 new tapes just 2 years ago with some Suzuki lectures. And we worked with them to transcribe it all. And we're actually working with one person there daily, David Shundo Hayes. He's and that's on verbatim stuff. They only do the verbatim. Whereas we have verbatim, we have minimum edits, we put up every edit we can find that anybody did. It's an archive. It's not as it's not as well presented as the other one, which is Engaged Wisdom, which is very good. They do a great job.
Cool.
Really good at their audio work. So anyway, I've thought of printing everything up, on whatever sort of acid-free paper lasts the longest, and figuring out, minimizing it somewhat, and figuring out how much there is, and then encouraging people to do it. I've given away and sold. No, I didn't sell. I was given donations. Surely over 100 hard drives with different stages of the archive developing, and thumb drives. Then I got into thumb drives. A lot of them in Germany. Germans really dig it. But I'm not doing that now. Everything's so digital. I mean, so, what do you say, streaming type,
Yeah.
non-object digital. So, yeah, I just wanted your opinion on that. And so you're going to send me that article. Yeah. Well, think of me if you learn anything new in those two areas, and I'll see what's on PC Magazine, and I'll bug you if you don't send me. I don't listen to anything hardly. I just work on what I'm working on and listen to what has to do with it. But I'll listen to that.
Makes sense.
I might just transcribe it, throw it into AI and transcribe it and read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, this is interesting. I've been rather stimulated talking to you. I talk too much, but
Oh, good.
yeah, because all the stuff you do is interesting to me. Yeah, you were different. I mean, there were a lot of different people. Eccentrics and people who specialized in this and that. And it's been really interesting to see what's happened to people after they've left Zen Center. Some people who really didn't do that well and didn't have very high status and were maybe not appreciated when they were at Zen Center, they left. And I think they still got something out of it and did very well at other things later, But you were doing very well there, too. Anyway. So do you have any other comments or anything to say?
I follow the current SFZC, and it amuses me that all of the revered and ancient abbots and abbesses and so on are the people I used to hang out with.
Yeah.
Nancy Schrader, we called her Darth Schrader. I remember she got mugged on the steps one time and was knocked down and like cracked her head and was knocked out.
Oh, no
but
kidding!
She was tough.
I didn't know.
Oh yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh
yeah. But she was tough, and now she's the Abbess Furu Schrader and with Ed Satizon. Ed actually took a detour into tech. He was working for WordPerfect or WordStar or something, but now he's abiding Abbott and
no, he was Ed was the Learning Company. He was a founder. He was very important in the Learning Company.
He was like a CEO or something. He was a hotshot.
Yeah, and he had Ed had an office in that big apartment building on the block across the street from Zen Center. The corner on the far side on the right, he had an office there, and he was working like 80s on using phone lines to send information and stuff like that. But he was doing not as a techie, but as a, trying to develop some business that promoted it or, found out those things. He had a business orientation, and he was very successful at it. And then he was had quite a career in the abbotship of Zen Center and the teaching and all that. And, he and Lou, he helped Lou Richmond found the Vimala Sangha in Mill Valley. And,
I did not make that connection. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I think he might even have gotten transmission from Lou. I don't know. Maybe he got it from, someone else, Rev or Mel or someone. But he sort of came out of, in fact, at some point he was doing Vimala Sangha. Lou's retired now, but he's still plugging away. I mean, he's writing, doing all sorts of stuff.
I've seen in HuffPost or something. Lou has a column in Huffington Post, I think.
No, he has a Good Men Project.
Oh, okay.
He has been on Huffington Post, but if he had anything regular, I'd know about it because he sends it.
I'm sure you would.
In fact, he had one recently. I really like. I've just put it off. I want to put it on What's New. I want to put it on his page. He's not writing regularly for them anymore now because I'm not getting the post. But the last one he did was about this term, this Dutch term, to deal with stress. It's like sitting and doing nothing. So he wrote a thing on that, and I'm dying to read it and feature it. I just haven't, it's on my list of things to do, and really it's more important than a lot of them. I should do it. I'll get to that today.
Sitting quietly, doing nothing. Spring comes and the grass grows by itself.
Right.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm around a lot of Dutch, here in Indonesia.
Yeah, you would be.
Yeah. They owned this place, and they tried to keep it after World War II, but. Indonesians, led by Sukarno and assisted by 1,000 Japanese soldiers who stayed behind, got rid of the Dutch. And then the Dutch came back, especially after Sukarno was gone, and, did business and everything. I never hear anything bad about Dutch here, although they weren't terrible, but they were bad. A lot of them assimilated more. I mean, there's a lot of Dutch in the language now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm. Well, do you have any other comments? You say, the big shots you used to hang out with. Do you have any view of how the Zen Center's doing or anything?
I think it's really different. I mean, when I showed up, it was just barely out of hippie beatnik stage.
Right.
And now it is corporate.
Yeah.
That to me, I'm like, I don't know if I would go to Sasahara. I don't know if I'd recognize it. They don't light the gosh darn kerosene lanterns, They have a satellite phone.
Yeah.
I just think I wouldn't recognize it.
Yeah.
So I know they've got all these goings on that I could go to, tours and things about the updates of the building. And I'm like, no, I don't really want to. I keep an eye on it from a distance, but it's not for me.
Yeah. You know what I find is I always like the individuals, but I'm sometimes a little wary of some of the decisions are like what the culture and the is like, and what are they emphasizing? But I also know that stuff changes. And I'm mainly, I want it to survive. And, with climate change, that's always on my mind. I don't think anything is going to survive very long. I don't see any, but might be a lot longer than we think, but I don't see anything happening to change that.
I get you. You don't see turning the direction. You just think we might not be around for the denouement.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd like to see the human race and higher forms of life survive. We've wiped out about half of it, plant and animal so far, insects, everything. And it keeps moving in that direction. We see a lot of hopeful news, but it's all sort of like this nice thing happening here, this nice thing happening there. And meanwhile, there's this giant steamroller that it's being run by the money float to me, which is inanimate. It's an inanimate form of amorphous sort of form of artificial life that we're serving, and it's very hard not to. It's very hard not to want the things to be the way they are. But maybe if there's enough pain and enough destruction, there'll be some change. But the problem is that the climate is it can't be changed quickly.
You're totally right.
It can't be controlled well, but also we don't know. We don't know what will happen. Yeah. Well, all right, Neil. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I'll see you on Facebook.
Sounds good. This has been fun.
Yeah.
I got to go too.
Yeah, all right. Take care.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So thanks a lot, Neil Rubenking. Oh, God, I did go on a lot there at the end. I'm sorry. I thought about cutting a lot of that stuff out, but I wasn't sure. I don't know what stuff I've repeated 10 times. I ought to just keep my mouth shut. But anyway, there it is. And we'll be talking to Neil, I'm sure, either verbally or reading his PC articles for Into the Infinite Future. This has been a Cuke Audio podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from Sleepy Sanur with Doggett Bandita, guest and Doggett Boombita, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.